it's weird moving to America and encountering the kind of crossover between kind of American patriotism and Christianity. And I'm not sure if I can. I feel a little, nervous sharing it because I'm not sure who I'm going to offend here. But it's just a weird experience for me. I was driving down the road the other day in Georgia. There's this big billboard, and I guess it was advertising a Christian rock show, and there was the cross, and it was draped in the American flag. And I'm not sure. As an Australian, that just seems very bizarre. Yeah. And I guess that's because for many Americans, and maybe this isn't wrong, maybe this is the case, their politics and their religion is kind of bound up together.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think what troubles me, to be patriotic is great. I consider myself to be a patriot. But sometimes I think we make the mistake of equating, of patriotism almost becomes its own religion.
Yeah.
And there's this idol worship that can sometimes happen, even with something like the flag. And, you do have to be, I feel even the need to be delicate in the way that I address this because...
Especially given your audience.
Right. But
yeah.
Honestly, it just even the all the controversy in the NFL about people kneeling during the anthem and so on, and how upset people got about that. My thing was, it's not a big deal. It's the flag. I respect the flag, but it's not a sacred symbol. You're not committing blasphemy. It is it's cloth, right? It stands for something. Of course, that's very deep and important. But it's not. I don't know. Just the fervor people had, and I guess that wouldn't bother me so much, if not for the fact that I don't see quite the same fervor from Christians about Christian symbols and about respect for the cross. I just don't see it the same. There seems to be more sometimes for the flag and for our patriotic symbols, and so sometimes I think that stuff has supplanted Christianity, and we've come up with a sort of Americanism religion that troubles me a little bit. In fact, you hear from a lot of Christians that sometimes they're a little worried about the reverence people have for the cross because it could be idol worship, and that kind of thing.
Wow.
Or you don't want to have statues.
Yeah.
Kneel in front of a statue is idol worship. Yet these are the same people who say,
hold our heart.
Yeah, you have to have a correct stance. You stand in front of the flag. How is that not idol worship then? I don't think either one is idol worship. Don't get me wrong, but it seems like it can become idol worship when you're placing reverence for the flag over reverence for sacred Christian symbols.
Mm-hmm. The other weird thing I've found is just this mass-produced Christian entertainment, which I didn't see in Australia. I moved here. I remember being in Walmart and seeing like T-shirts talking about Christianity and then Christian bookstores everywhere. And at first I thought this is really great, and I suppose in a sense it could be great. But there's something about it I find troubling. You talk about that in the book. You have this very funny line, I laughed out loud, where you talked about God's not dead being the most torturous invention since the Inquisition, come up with by a Christian or something.
Did I say that?
You did. It was very good. You probably worded it better, but yeah.
I'm not a fan of a lot. I agree with you. I'm not a fan of which anyone's read the book can tell that I'm not a fan of a lot of the Christian entertainment. I don't like that Christianity has become a brand. I think that has a debasing effect, and it reduces it into this. It's like its own genre now, which I don't think it should be, and. It bothers me, and this isn't the case. Look, there are good Christian bands out there. There are a few good Christian movies, a few. And when I say Christian movies, I mean the Christian TM trademark, like in that genre of Christian film. A few of them are decent. Most of them are utter trash.
It's funny because I almost wouldn't want to put The Passion of the Christ in there because it's so good.
Well,
I don't want to call it a Christian film.
That I don't actually put in that category.
Yeah.
Because it was made by a legitimate film director, Mel Gibson, one of our great directors we have in Hollywood, real actors, a real script, and it was just a very well made movie. And yes, it was telling us the story of Christ, of his passion, but it's a real film. I think that's sort of separate from some of these other Christian movies where it seems like these production companies, they don't really care about the quality. They're just throwing this stuff out there because they know that the audience is going to eat it up. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. And so they don't put any effort into it. And it's just, in a lot of these movies, horrible acting. The script is ridiculous. It's a bad quality product. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me very cynical because these production companies, they don't care about the quality. I would think if you're telling a story, you're making a Christian movie, a Christian song, you're talking about God, you're talking about faith, you should put even more effort into the quality, given the subject. You should want to honor God. But that's not what I see.
And sometimes the quality increases in one aspect of a movie, like the film aspect, or even the acting, but then the script's terrible. So like God's Not Dead would be a good example of that. I love what you said. You said, I'm not going to call the characters by name since the film creators or the scriptwriter didn't bother giving them a personality.
Yeah, and I think I went on pretty long about that.
You did. It was fantastic. Because, I mean, we all agree it's a bad movie. If you meet a real-life atheist, he's not going to yell, I hate God because my mother died of cancer.
And that's what the other problem I had with that book, with that movie, and the book, I guess I didn't read the book, aside from everything I've already said, is that, I think it really does the opposite of what it should do. With a story like that, where it's all about defending the faith against an atheist, that's what this story is. The service that movie should provide for the viewer as a Christian is to equip you to go out into the real world and actually have these debates and conversations. But I think it does the exact opposite, because if somebody gets their ideas of what an atheist is and what atheist arguments are like based on that movie, they're going to go out there and get slaughtered. Mm-hmm. Because this is supposedly this is a professor. I think he's like a philosophy professor, and he's supposed to be this, a very menacing figure, intellectual giant, and his arguments are absurd, mm-hmm. Easily batted down, and it takes just a couple of go rounds before he's screaming, I just hate God. No atheist is ever going to say that in an argument. Of course they're not going to say that. And then even the caricatures, like there was the one character, the atheist boyfriend and he's at dinner with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend tells him that she has cancer, and he says his answer is something like, "Why are you bothering me with this?" or something like that.
Yeah. And he dumps her there on the spot.
He dumps her on the spot because
all atheists are horrible human beings, clearly.
He dumped her for having cancer over dinner. Now, I get the point. You're trying to say that atheism can cause selfishness because, there's... But it's not. Atheists aren't all a bunch of psychopaths. This guy's a psychopath. But in this movie, all the atheists are psychopaths or morons. And that's the only kind. And again, if you go out into the culture to defend the faith, thinking that's what you're going to run into, you're going to get eaten alive. Mm-hmm. And you're going to embarrass yourself and the faith because, just try it. Try going out equipped with those arguments and engage an atheist, a smart one, mm-hmm. and he will. It's going to not go well for you.
Yeah.
Hey, if you enjoyed that clip, you will absolutely love the full interview, so click right there to enjoy the whole thing. Also, a big thanks to these groups who made that interview possible. Learn more in the show notes below about these guys. They're absolutely incredible, and honored to have them as sponsors. Oh, and also, if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe and then that bell button. That way YouTube will be forced to let you know when we put out more content.